Alright, here we go. So we're gonna make a little, I don't even know what to call it, but we'll call it a little twirly thing. Alright, so first we need to make a new file. Now for this video, I'm doing it a lot smaller. I'm just gonna use a 2000 by 2000. I did one 20 by 16 to print out, but using a screen recorder and trying to do something that big at the same time with this computer is not going to work out very well. Alright, so 2000 by 2000, 72, I'd change that to 300 for print. Color mode RGB, background can be black, it can be whatever actually, and color profile is sRGB. We'll go ahead and create a new document. And once that is ready to go, we're going to go ahead and add a image. Now, forgive me, and this computer is a little bit on the slow side, so just bear with me. I will probably end up cutting out parts of this video if it ends up going too slow. But anyways, alright, so now we have our document, so we want to place an image in here. Alright, so to place an image, just go up to File, hit Place Embedded. And then we're going to grab a image from a sunrise or sunset, either way. Doesn't matter. And you can use any image to do this effect, something that just has a decent amount of colors in it. Whatever you want to do. Alright, so, but for this example, I am using a sunset photo or a sunrise photo, either way. Let's go in my new edits, and it'll be in this one, and it's this one right here, this little sunrise down in Florida when I was living in Florida. And it is going to place this image on there, and like I said, this computer is slow, so it's going to take just a couple extra seconds. Alright, so once your image is in there, we need to scale it up to fit your document. So we're going to hit Alt and drag out. Just to scale it up so it's inside the document like that. And we'll go ahead and hit the check mark or hit Enter, however you want to do it. Doesn't matter either way. Alright, so now this is a smart object. Alright, so when you place a embedded file in Photoshop, it generally places it as a smart object if you have your Photoshop set up to do that. But let's just say it was just a regular rasterized layer. It doesn't matter. However, using a bunch of different filters, it's easier if you convert it to a smart object. Just right click and hit Convert to Smart Object. And that will make life easier in making changes later if you want to. Alright, so what we're going to do first is we're going to just apply some filters. So basically we're going to go up here to Filter, and we're going to go down to where it says Pixelate, and then we're going to click on Mezzotint. Alright, so Mezzotint is basically it has 10 different options that you can do. From what I have found, coarse dots and long strokes work the best. It really doesn't matter what you use, you can change it later. But for this one right here, let's do medium strokes. And I'm just going to hit OK, and it's going to apply that mezzotint. And look at that beautiful image that we have now. Actually, that's a joke. You should laugh. Alright, so what we need to do next is we need to apply some blur filters to it. So we're going to go up to Filter, we're going to go down to Blur, and then we're going to click on Radial Blur. Now this Radial Blur, we're going to change our amount to 100. We're going to change our blur method to zoom, and then quality, we can do, we're going to do this filter 3 times, so we could do the first 2 on draft if we wanted to, but I'm just going to just leave it on best each time. And I'm going to have to redo this the first time because, as you see, the blur center is right here, which would be right in this area here. And I want the blur center to start at the sun. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of nudge it over to where I think would be about the center of the sun. I'm probably not going to be right, but we'll go ahead and hit OK. and it's going to run that blur, radial blur filter on there, and you'll see the result here in a second. And actually, the computer's working a lot better than normal, because before it took about 5 minutes to run a blur filter before, but I restarted everything, and hopefully this will work out good. Alright, so I got that blur center pretty close. I'm actually happy with that, so I'm just gonna leave it there. Now we want to run this filter 2 more times. Alright, so go up to filter, radial blur, you can go down to blur, radial blur again, leave it on 100, hit OK. It's going to run it through 1 more time, and then after this one renders, we're going to do it 1 last time. So we're going to run a total of 3 times. And you can probably do 4 or 5, but the best results from what I'm seeing is like 3 times. Alright, so it's running through. Okay, so that's the second one. And then we're going to go ahead and do it 1 more time. We could just click on radial blur there too. Hit OK. And it's going to run it through this last time. Alright, that's pretty good. Alright, so we can hit Control and plus to zoom out or zoom in. Sometimes maybe it's not going to work. Alright. I think I just kind of look through and make sure that there's like no jaggediness in there. Everything looks pretty good here. Alright. So once we have those three blurs and the 1 mezzotint, you do your mezzotint first, and then you do your radial blurs. Next we want to do a effect called Twirl, and that's in the Distort folder under Filters. Just go to Distort and then click on Twirl. And then this Twirl, the angle, you can see it right here in this little preview, or if you hit this little button to scroll down, you can see it kind of in the whole photo. Alright, so what I have noticed though is like the more you do it, the more weird things happen to your pixels. Alright, so I like to keep it in the 100 to 120 range. So we'll just say 130 or 100 to 140 roughly is what I meant. Alright, so it's gonna twirl it like this. Alright, so we have this design now. Alright, so what we want to do now is make a copy of this. Alright, so we can collapse that. You can click Control J, we'll make a copy. We undid that. If you right click, create new duplicate layer up there, or you can just hold down your Alt and move it up. Okay, there's like 10 different ways to make copies of a layer. Alright, so we have a copy of our layer and we're on that top copy, right? So now what we want to do is we want to flip this to the left. Alright, so we're going to flip it horizontally. So we hit Control T. Smart filters will be turned off, that's okay. And actually I meant to just rasterize it because it'll make this video go faster. So after this runs through, I'm just going to rasterize these 2 layers. That way we don't have to sit through this every time. Alright, so let's rasterize these. So you can click on the layer and just right click and then just go to rasterize layer, and then we'll do the same thing for this one. So we have both our layers rasterized. It's going to make life easy for me. Control T, and now once your transform box is up, you can just right click inside it and then go down to flip horizontal. And it's going to flip horizontal, and then you can just hit the check mark or hit enter on your keyboard, either way. Alright, so now you see we have these two copies. One is on the right and one is on the left. But we want to merge these layers together. Okay, but before we can merge them together so it shows both of them, we need to change the blend mode of this top one. And lighten basically works real good. You can scroll through here, but lighten and pin light seem to work the best. In my opinion, lighten is the absolute best looking. Okay, so once you switch that blend mode, we're going to select both of them. So you can just hold down Shift. So click on your top one, hold down Shift, click on this one. You right click them, you can hit Merge Layers. Now they're merged together. Alright. We can make one more copy of this. We hold down Alt and drag up, and we could hit Control T and then flip it vertically. So we flip it vertically, we'll create this, hit Enter, and then we're going to change this one to lighten also. We have this look. Okay, now you can do this as many times as you want. Just depend on what look you want. Totally up to you. It's like total choice of whoever's doing the work. Alright, I think I want to maybe twirl it one more time. But I'm gonna make I like this, but I'm gonna make a copy, and then I'm gonna turn this one off. But I want to twirl it one more time and see what it looks like. So filter, distort, twirl, and leave it on 130. And we could do that. And let's put this on lighten. Okay, that's with all of them. Leave it on normal. Kind of a rough decision. I mean, it really doesn't matter, but let's just go. Let's just delete this one, and we will go with this one. Alright, so this is basically our finished design. Now we have to do some color work to it. Alright, so you could go to all your different adjustment layers and like put a curve on it, and maybe darken it down a little bit. Just kind of mess around with the curve to change the look of it. But the way I feel it works the best, actually that looks pretty daggone good. I like to work in Camera Raw. Just a lot easier. Like everything is going to be in the one filter. All right, so we go up to Filter, go up to Camera Raw. You can edit it however you want. I mean, if you're a curves person, you can do it the curves way. You can add hue saturations. You can add gradients. You can blur it more. You can twirl it more. You can flip it more. You can have as many layers as you want on it, but this is just kind of showing the process. All right. Okay, so we have our document here in Camera Raw. So let's see if we size it right about here. The first thing that I like to do is I can go down to calibration, and we can mess around with color calibration down here. Alright, it's totally up to you how you want to do it. You can change colors just by going in the calibration mode here. Alright, but that's not what we're going to do. We're just going to go up to basic and crank our clarity up. Okay, now you have to watch. If you hold down spacebar, you want to watch your lines when you do clarity, because a lot of times you will get they'll start to break up and get jaggedy if you use too much. Alright, so it looks pretty good. And now we can mess around with texture. So texture, we can bring it up more. If you take all the texture out, it kind of leaves like a milky blur to it, which looks pretty cool. Either way. So you can go, like if you can go all the way to positive extreme, like this is the before, this is the after. You just kind of do it to your taste, however you want it to look. Alright, I think I'm going to leave it on the negative side. Alright, so we have our clarity and our texture. Now we can kind of mess around with contrast and shadows and highlights. So we can add some contrast to it. Like that's all the way up. You can take saturation out. You double click, leave it on 0 if you wanted to. Alright, we could take shadows out. We could raise the shadows up. We can raise our white points up. And bring our highlights down or up, either way. I mean, this is all taste, and you can just kind of go through your different sliders here and mess around with whatever you think looks the best. Alright, so we can mess around with our black point a little bit too. Okay, I kind of like that look right there. So we're just going to leave it be as that. And I think we're going to be done in the basic panel. Now we can go down to our color mixer and mess around with these too. We can go on our hue and then our reds. We can make more orange or more red. We can mess around with our oranges too a little bit. Yellows. You just gotta go through each slider. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. I think I like where this is going here. Alright, I think we're there, but I think I don't like the blues there. Okay, and you can do the same thing with your saturation too. So just be real leery on saturation sometimes. If you go too much, it makes it look funky. With the blues a little bit, and then especially on luminance too. If you go too dark, it'll see what it's doing. It just doesn't look good at all. Alright, so you can brighten them up a little bit, brighten up the blues, or you can make them darker either way. Alright, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, but you get the idea. You just go color by color. You can go through hue, saturation, and luminance, and just pick out what looks best to you. Then for the basically the last thing, but second to last thing actually, is effects. Okay, you can add grain to it. I'm not a grain person, but if you want to add grain to your design, you can. I think it takes away from it, but it's just me. I like it smooth. And then we can add a vignette. Alright, so the vignette, I'm not a big vignette person, but if you take this and just drag it in, like, look at that. That is pretty neat, right? From that to that, just by taking the vignette down. Make sure you're on highlight priority, and this is not even messing around with midpoint or anything like that. Okay. Or roundness, or feather. Okay, actually, I think I like, basically, this is badass. Alright, so we're done with effects. Alright, so now I just kind of go through and look at it. I think everything looks pretty good. Alright, so I'm actually going to go on detail and just, for the sake of it, bring my noise reduction to about 20. And then sharpening, I'm going to hold down Alt and click on this masking. And I'm just going to drag this out. If we drag it all the way, everything that's white is going to get sharpened. Alright, so, you know, if you want this much of it to try to sharpen, you can. If you want to drag it out more, you can. But whatever you, wherever you set your mask at, will sharpen only the white. So if you hold down Alt and click on it, that's what's gonna get sharpened. Okay, if you bring your mask all the way over, everything's gonna get sharpened. So we don't need to sharpen everything, but just some things you wanna sharpen up a little bit. Okay, we can drag our sharpening up. Just if you drag it all the way out depends on your image, but a lot of times it's just going to make it look worse. Alright, so we're just going to call it right there 66, and I think we're all good with this part. So we can go ahead and hit OK, and it's going to apply that camera raw filter. Alright, so this is the finished product. Now you can, if we left everything as smart filters, or you know, as a smart object, we could go through and readjust a lot of things. Okay, but with this computer and recording at the same time, I just rasterized it. So every time we did something, that was it. It was totally destructive. I couldn't go back unless I, you know, Control Z all the way back to the beginning. Okay, but you get the idea. So you want to make sure that you do keep it as a smart object. All right. Okay, so we could leave it like this, or we could just kind of do some other weird stuff to it. You can click on this and make sure your colors are black and white, and you could go and add a gradient map to it, and it will change it to basically like a black and white. Which is a cool little look. You can drag your opacity down to the left and start introducing colors back into it. This is all the way. We go in about 50%. Looks like that. All the way up to 100 is that. You could click on your gradient map bar and switch out colors. So you can go to, you know, something like this, and then maybe change your blend mode to overlay or something like that, and just create different looks. Just depends on what you want to do. Go in your maybe your purples. Hit OK. Change blend modes to like a soft light, and we have this look. Can bring your opacity down to bring some of the original color back. Have it like that. It's just a little subtle thing. If we drug it up to like 42, see a big difference there. Okay, and you could combine everything and twirl it again if you wanted to. Let's go ahead and just drag that to the trash. I want to put an eyeball in there just because. Alright, so I downloaded Adobe Stock has some free, if you go on Adobe stock.adobe, and just in the free section, you can download a whole bunch of different images for free and use them in your design. Alright, so we can't see where this is at because we put it underneath here, but I'm going to say the center is like right here. And then I'm going to hold Alt and drag this out bigger. Okay, we'll hit Enter to place it, and then click on this one. Let's see how close we were. Pretty close, but let's Control T. Let's move it over some. Alright. Let's go ahead and bring the opacity back up, and then on this top layer, we're going to just get a mask. Let's grab a brush, and we have a soft round brush, and let's make it, is my caps lock on? Yep. It's like, where's my brush? Make sure your caps lock off. Okay, alright, so we're just going to go in the center, and we'll bring our flow down to about 40. And just make a click. And just kind of bring this in a little bit like so. Not my best work, but let's hit X and just kind of mask it in a little bit. And you can spend a little bit of more time on this than I am. I'm just kind of tweaking this down. Yeah, something like that. Alright, so that's that look. And you could actually do a gradient map again. and then change your, put a mask over that. Drag your mask up and the eyeball will be color. Anyways, alright, I'm just playing. We'll get rid of that. Alright, so that is basically it. We can turn this eyeball off and right click, delete this layer mask, and be back to this original. And we could, you know, we could twirl it again if you wanted to once it's all done. Do a twirl of 130 again. And you could just keep twirling it again if you wanted to. Just till you get the design that you want. Let's go ahead, Control Z, back out of those. And there you have it. So so basically, to run it through you again, basically you place your image, you go to filter, you go to pixelate, you put a mezzotint on it, you can change it, coarse dots, medium strokes, long lines, medium lines, it all works good. Once that runs through, you're going to run a filter blur, radial blur 3 times on 100. Amount 100 blur method is zoom, and then the first 2 times you can run it on draft, but if you keep it on best, your lines will look a lot cleaner. Keep it on best for all 3. Run it through 3 times, and once that's done, you will go to your filter, distort, and then hit your twirl and twirl it however you want. Alright, so we can go ahead and delete this. Let's delete this one. And then we could, if we wanted to, we can make this into a planet. This is just a little bonus, I guess. Let's go to our elliptical marquee tool, and we'll hold down Shift and drag this out to about right here. Something like so, and then we will actually put it on here and mask it, and we have our little world. Alright, let's apply this layer mask. We go to filter, distort, spherize, leave it on 100, and we have our little shiny world. Just kidding, looks terrible. Alright, so that is that. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control D. There is the final result, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, leave a comment or send me a message. Thank you. Bye-bye.